Hello, happy Wednesday and happy Heritage Day. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. My name is Susan Moore. I'm the Community Engagement Manager at the International Institute of Business Analysis. Today's topic is cultural diversity in business analysis. I want you to picture this for a moment. Imagine a business analysis team that speaks 5 languages. They celebrate 10 different holidays. They have 12 different perspectives on the world, on people. Is that chaos or is that a competitive advantage? Diversity is a way that we can build in a lot of flexibility, a lot of creativity, a lot of innovation in the work that we do. And we are going to take a holiday. We're going to celebrate that, but we're also going to talk with someone who's got a little bit of a background in cultural diversity. So I want to bring on stage, hello, Lungile Mnguni. My, how did I do?
Good, good afternoon, Sue. How are you doing? You did very well. Thank you.
That's great. And actually, we're going to talk about your name because when you and I met and spent time together in Antwerp earlier this year, we actually talked
Yes.
about your name and something that happens because of the cultural diversity in your region. But before we do that,
Yes.
first, I want people to get to know you a little bit. So if you would, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me here, Sue. And yeah, I am Lungile Mnguni, as everyone would know. And maybe just to pause a bit on the name, is my name is Lungile, and that is a name from a Nguni tribe, right? One of the tribes in South Africa, and it simply means the good one. And that is the meaning of the name. I am a lead business analyst within the financial sector in SA, and I have also had a privilege to actually work across about 14 African countries in the financial and banking sector. I'm very much passionate about, building teams that bridge the gap between businesses and technology, and I am also a volunteer in the community and also in the Women in Tech space. So, yeah, that's just about me. I've also, I think last year, co founded a platform called BA Horizons, where really we focus on empowering business analysts through workshops and masterclasses and also public speaking. As you would know, that I do that as well. And I am also a mom, and yeah, I am a mentor and someone who's really passionate about business analysis and continuous learning.
I love it. I love it. You really do bring so much to the community, especially there in South Africa. Now, I mentioned that today is Heritage Day in South Africa, and our guests might notice that you are wearing some really beautiful items today. And while I would love to think that you've dressed up just for today's live stream, in fact, it had what you are wearing has to do with Heritage Day. Can you tell our audience a little bit about Heritage Day and specifically the items you're wearing? How does that play into the celebration of the holiday?
Wow, thank you very much, Jasu. That opportunity to really share on, on our Heritage Day. In fact, the month of September, it is a Heritage Month in South Africa where we really celebrate, the different cultural activities and also, the diverse nation that we are. So today, specifically the 24th of September, it is a public holiday, so we're not working today. We are at home and we are all celebrating, all the different cultural activities from the way we actually dress, as you would see. So I am dressed in a Ndebele attire. I come from a Ndebele tribe, and Ndebele tribe is actually originated mostly from the Mpumalanga province, which is one of the 9 provinces in South Africa. We're very, very colorful. We are known for being very artistic and also being very, very profound in terms of how we actually prepare our different meals and the language that we speak. You would know that we have about 11 official languages in the country. So today really is about us coming together. And I must mention, over and above us just celebrating the different cultures, we have actually named this day also a Bride Day, which you would know as a barbecue. So we come together, we share food, and we share the experiences and the rich culture that we have in our country. So that's what it's really about.
I love that, and I know when you were telling me about the kinds of things that you're doing today on this holiday, you've already run a 10K marathon. So, and you said there's food involved, and so you had me when you said today what you're preparing is a seafood boil. I am from the southeastern United States. We love a seafood boil down here as well.
Nice, nice, nice. Wow, that's brilliant. Yes, so normally on this particular day, right, we would gather around. There's a lot of barbecues happening and all of that. And I thought today I'm gonna break the tradition a bit and just try something different because I've got a special friend visiting. So yes, I am. I'm cooking up a stump. I'm making a seafood boil.
That sounds delicious, really.
Yeah.
Um, well, so let's talk about this. When you and I met and we were talking, by the way, the fact that I just happened to have this day open when you and I talked, and it was Heritage Day, it kind of was like, well, of course we need to be talking about cultural diversity in business analysis. Like,
Yes.
what a perfect opportunity to talk about that.
Yes.
Tell me a
Mhm.
little bit about what is it about diversity that is an advantage for us as business analysis professionals?
Yeah, I think at the start when I did the introductions, I spoke about the privilege of working across different African countries, right? And that then means that I got to be exposed to different cultures, diversity. And for me as a business analyst, and I think for any other business analyst out there, the advantage of really, and climbing in towards understanding and learning more about different cultures and diversity. We play a key role in terms of bringing together, different systems, different people, and so forth, right? So, how I've actually used, cultural diversity to my advantage. Firstly, it's about, learning the people's language. You may not really be so fluent, but the most important things, how you greet them, what's important to that particular group of people that you're engaging with. And as a business analyst, we find ourselves, facilitating workshops, gathering requirements and really understanding the business needs. So imagine a situation whereby you can actually understand the people that you are actually trying to assist or the people that you're trying to build a solution for. How will that and give you an advantage in terms of understanding really what is their core need and so forth. So for me that really plays a key role, and having been able to speak multiple languages and understand the different regions, it does play a vital role for me as a business analyst.
I know you mentioned that in some places where you go to work, they call you W. Do you remember and it had something to do with the pronunciation of your name. Maybe I think that to me felt like a way that you were being sensitive to these other cultures that you were working in by saying, no, you could have said, my name is this, and this is how you pronounced it. But you said, oh, okay, well, pronounce it this way. Maybe tell us a little bit about that, because I think that's really interesting.
Wow, thank you so much, Sue. That's so special that you got to remember that. Thank you.
I found it
Well,
fascinating. The story is fascinating, which is why I wanted to make sure that you share that today.
so I used to work for this other bank, one of the major banks in SA. And that particular bank is the Blue Bank. I call it the Blue Bank. And it has a footprint of about, it's represented in about over 17 countries just in our continent. And so I would travel to a different country, and my name, which is Wilhelmina, will be pronounced differently from someone in Malawi compared to someone in Lesotho or in Botswana or in Uganda. And as a result, there are certain vowels or alphabets that we pronounce differently. And as a result, you find that we now not understanding how you actually calling me out. And I thought, you know what, in order for me to actually make it easy for everyone across the countries that I was traveling to, well, I'll just be W, and that was actually easier for them to pronounce. And it actually brought them closer to saying, you know what, I wasn't really taking offense, but I was understanding that there were certain words that they were pronouncing differently from one country to another. So yeah, as you would know, I mean, 15 years later, I'm being referred to as W in Africa.
SW. I, that sounds like, as a business analysis professional, when we are working with a lot of different cultures, it sounds like there are maybe a set of skills that we need to use, not just our business analysis skills, but our personal skills. What are some of those skills that you have leaned into in order to be more open and flexible?
So in our space, in our region, especially I'll speak from the Africa continent perspective, respect goes a very long way, right? And with that, I mean, we have the saying that the spirit of Ubuntu, which it really means, being inclusive, right? And that's what we are known for as the Africans. So you would find that for me, really respect comes up front as the most important, right? And also now as a business analyst, having a good IQ and also having a good EQ where your
Mhm.
emotional intelligence is really at par, because then you become also sensitive to the people that you are dealing with, their culture, their differences, and what is important to them. So definitely respect goes a long way, and also being authentic, and really, I think emotional intelligence is very important.
Yeah. And what I also hear in these stories that you're sharing with us is that there's an openness to learning. I often say that business analysis professionals, we are professional learners. And maybe sometimes we think that learning is just about the problem we're there to solve or the opportunity we're there to explore. But what I hear you saying is that learning also extends to the stakeholders. What's important to them? What are the ways that they communicate? What are the ways that I could communicate better to build, let's see, Ubuntu? Am I saying it right? Am I
Yes,
using it
Ubuntu,
correctly?
yes. Yes, Ubuntu, yes. Well done.
So I hear that you really have to be able to learn. And my guess would be that sometimes having a little bit of a sense of humor also helps, because sometimes you might not know what you might not know about a culture.
Yes. Yeah, no, definitely. And to that point, what I am seeing happen, mostly, after the whole COVID situation, we've become more remote than ever, right?
Mm,
You have
mhm.
teams that are sitting in different regions. For an example, teams that come together to build solutions. You've got developers, you've got business analysts, you've got your scrum masters, and some of these team members, they're not even sitting in the same country as you are, right? And that
That's right.
already starts talking to different time zones, different public holidays, different practices and so forth. So it is also important as a business analyst, especially when you're thinking stakeholder engagement, to show that empathy and also to show that, I care as much for the solution as I care for you as a human first. So as a result, I will take note to say in my calendar, I will note the important public holidays, maybe for India, because I deal with most developers who are based in India, and therefore I would actually be able to to celebrate that with them, to say, hey, I know that the coming week you won't be available, or, this is what's happening in your country or in your region, send my best regards and so forth. That is saying to your stakeholders, I see you, which is one of the things that we do very well in South Africa. We've got a saying and a greeting that says, Sawubona. And that simply means, I see you, So being seen and being that person as a BA, that I see my stakeholders and I acknowledge them. And most importantly, I also respect their culture and their diverse ways of doing things. So I've taken it as an interest to learn, some of the important things. At the time where I was traveling a lot across the countries, I would ensure that at least I would make sure that the basic words, your thank you and your greeting, you need to learn that.
Yes,
As a
yes.
result, I ended up speaking a lot of languages, but that worked in my advantage as a business analyst. Yeah.
Gosh, I think my heart is expanding here as we are talking. And just as a reminder for those folks who are watching us today, we're live and we want to make sure that we are taking your questions. Here you go. So I'm going to just remind you that we're going to save some time because we want to know what your questions are today. That idea of I see you, I acknowledge you,
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
building respect because very often we can get focused on our job, the solution, our metrics. But an easy way to build respect and trust is the idea that I really see you. I acknowledge the things that make you unique and recognize those for what they are. That is, I think, really important in our work because we work so closely
Mhm.
with people. Our business is a people business.
Yes, 100%, 100%. So, and then again, with people, language plays a very important role, right? And language goes just beyond just communicating. You'll be in a region where you need to understand and gather requirements, and if you are able to actually throw in a few words in their local language, you see people open up to you, and you see people wanting to actually participate in what you are doing because it gives them that sense that you take their interest at heart, right? You are actually interested in what is important to them. So it speaks to language, it speaks to their values, right? And it actually makes it even because you can go into a space. There's a country called Mozambique, and Mozambique is literally not far from SA. But in Mozambique, the most dominating language is Portuguese, right?
Oh,
And also, when you are there, you hardly speak or hear people speaking English, right? As much as yes, they do, but the most dominating language is Portuguese. Now you are in a session whereby you are really wanting to understand the requirements and understand the business and so forth, and you can't speak a word of Portuguese, you can get what you are here to get. However, with a little bit effort of understanding what is important to them and being able to speak a bit of their language, then they start opening up, they start wanting to participate, they start helping you say the words that you need to learn, they start helping you understand their space. So language is very important, and it goes just beyond the speaking. It's about values as well. Yeah.
it is, and as I've had the great pleasure to work with people all over the world and meet people all over the world, one of the things that
Mhm.
I really love to do is to pronounce the names, and it's important for me to do it and to ask for feedback again because I
Mhm.
think of that as I want to. It is important to me to pronounce your name correctly, but also I find that pronouncing names gives you an opening to learn a little bit about the language because there are clues in names as to how to pronounce things. Are is the letter N, is it silent? Tell me more about that. And it's such an opening,
Mhm.
right? And it's a
Mhm.
name. It is a simple way that can say to somebody, I see you, and I'm going to pronounce your name.
Mhm.
Talk about building a relationship.
Mm.
Pronouncing a name is a great
Yes.
way to get started.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. And also, with being able to pronounce a person's name, and maybe you are able to also just know who's the leader, who are the people of influence in their space, and also if you are able to go a little bit deeper into what's the history like, because that can actually make you sensitive to how you show up, so that's also very important to know as well.
Yeah. Um, so let's see. All right. So let's talk about um, just diversity now, maybe from a broader perspective, and
Yeah.
and let's talk about how that can make us. What are some things that we need to be doing as business analysis professionals um, to bring diversity of thought, of perspective into the work that we're doing? What are some of the things that you do in your work?
Yeah, so I always say that I advocate for continuous learning, right? And for me, continuous learning, obviously has to be structured. We're not going to go about just learning anything and everything, but we need to actually, be purposeful. What is it that we want to learn to enhance our skills as business analysts? And the more and more business analysis, it's a global skill that makes us as business analysts global citizens, right? And that means I should be alert and open to opportunities beyond my borders. And now, with that already comes a challenge. Do I even understand what are the things that are important in a region that I desire to go and be a business analyst in? What's the currency, and also what are the things that really makes up business analysis in those regions? What are kind of the sectors that they have? I know that in South Africa you find business analysis in most of our industries. I'm thinking banking. There's a lot of business analysis practice in the banking space, in the mining space, and also in the health sector, in insurance, and so forth. So if I'm a business analyst who sees myself as a global citizen who possesses of a global skill, then I should be open to continuous learning. Let me learn as to what are the important things. How is technology evolving, or how is technology actually expanding in Nigeria compared to Botswana? And what does that mean for how is technology, the landscape of how things are evolving, maybe in London and so forth. So as a business analyst, continuous learning is very important. And as we learn, and I mean, we're talking machine and AI and all of that, but they enable us to actually be able to connect with people. It will enable us to show up in a way that it's respectful, and also it can enhance how we communicate with other professionals from different regions as well.
I think that is such good advice is one of the ways that we can kind of inhabit this space of being av- aware of and available for this cultural differences is through continuous learning. I often, I think about learning as a muscle. So we go to the gym in order to build our muscles. Well, the way that we build our continuous learning muscle is so we have to keep learning.
Yeah,
I love this idea of business analysis professionals as global citizens. And even if you don't work for a company that is multinational or international,
yeah,
taking a global perspective on what you're doing can just open the door to all of the kinds of people inside your company, your
yes.
customers. It makes
Mhm.
space for all of these different kinds of people that we are serving.
True, true, Sue. And I'm wanting to add and say also, travel, right?
Ah,
Travel.
yeah.
So now, as yeah, because I've learned quite a lot during my travel than I've actually learned in my textbooks. And I want to say that as business analysts, I'm seeing amazing conferences, about business analysis that's taking place globally. This is an opportunity for us to actually now, travel and learn from other spaces and so forth. And I must really say that given the opportunity to actually travel, I've learned more with travel than being in one space. And of course, sometimes one may not be able to physically be there, but there are platforms, whereby
That's
we
right.
can join in and be part of the communities. As a business analyst, really, we are people who communicate, and I think travel has also added quite a lot in the experience and the skill set. I show up differently as a so and in my previous employment, right, we had business analysts. We were purely just based in SA, and we had business analysts that were actually based in we're traveling, and you could tell the difference because the challenges, that you meet when you're out there, they propel you. You show up differently, you prepare differently, you start talking differently, and you also start being entrusted with more than just being someone who gather requirements and stuff. You can actually start contributing positively and almost influencing, how things can turn out and solutions. So I do think that given an opportunity, I would say as a business analyst, travel, mark some of these conferences that you can be part of, and definitely travel.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
great advice. And um, as someone who has traveled both in person and virtually to a lot of different countries, you are correct. One of the things that I discovered that I never thought of was how much I would love learning about how business analysis is practiced all over the world. Because in many ways, we might think that
Mhm.
it is the same, and we might think that it is different.
Mm.
And it's a little of both.
Mhm.
um, One of the
Mhm.
fascinating things I have learned through my work here at IIBA, because we are translating the BABOK and other
Yes.
standards and guides into other languages, is that
Mhm.
the phrase business analysis is translated differently in different languages. In some languages, that does not exist as like a word,
True. Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
had not ever thought about that. So
Hmm.
it's very
Hmm.
interesting.
It is. It is because to think about it, so when I started practicing business analysis, I'm actually intrigued. Someone just really commented with my language on the
Oh,
comments,
should I show
and
this? Is this
and
the pillow? Is this
yes,
is
Abel, yes, Abel, Mahlangu, he is definitely Ndebele, and
so for
oh
those
wow.
of us that don't know this language, what does this say?
So he is really saying that Isiatowas and Amguni, he is happy to see how our culture can be represented as well, and he's saying that from the tribe of the Ndebeles, which I am representing today, they are very proud. Ngiyathokoza, ngiyathokoza Mhlangu. So yeah, thank you. Yes, so I
Oh my
wanted to
gosh,
say
thank you,
this.
the pellet.
When I started in business
That's what.
analysis,
Mhm.
we were not really labeled as business analysts, right? Because I don't know, for whatever reason, although according to the babok, you are really doing everything business analysis. But yeah, I was also for the longest, I continued as a business analyst, but I was just never given the title of business analyst. So to your
Right.
point, even more now, when you translate it to other languages, it means something else. I still have a lot of people who are doing business analysis in the sector that I'm in, but they are really referred to as maybe a process analyst. Some are even referred to mostly as change managers. But when you look at
Yep.
the work that they do, and it is when we then dive into the standards and understanding what is business analysis and what is a business analyst, then we get to understand that actually we're talking about the same thing.
That's
So
right.
yeah.
That's right. And I think so I think, some people I think get very focused on business analyst as a title, but when you think about just all of the languages in the world, business analysis and business analyst is not a true translation. So let's worry less about what the titles are and
Mm-hmm.
what's the work
Mm-hmm.
that we do, because that's actually the
Agreed.
thing that connects us.
100%, 100% agreed. So I carried on and I carried on with the work that I was doing. Yes, I was not given the title, but then interesting enough, and then went on to apply for a senior BA role in another organization without the title, but with the work that I was doing. And lo and behold, I got in and I've never looked back. So, yeah, it's important. What is it that we deliver than the title? It's just like leadership, you know. Leadership is not just a title, you know, it's how you show up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think that's true. And actually, let's from a career perspective, if you are somebody that is interested in getting into business analysis, and you think, well, I've never had that title, I can't possibly apply for that job. Focus on your achievements in what you've currently done, whatever your job title is. Focus on your achievements and connect those back to the things that business analysis professionals do, and the title doesn't matter.
Doesn't really matter. True.
Well, let's see. We have a lot of people that are. First of all, I want to do this because, speaking of cultural diversity, we've got folks that are showing up from everywhere. So here's Atil from Turkey. Let's see. I think somewhere up here we've got Sashri in the US, and we have Aline in Ireland. So we've got quite the diverse group
Yeah.
today.
Mm,
So I'm going to pop in a couple of comments that I've seen, and we can talk about those. Okay, Makoma says, looking absolutely beautiful today. Happy Heritage Day. So thank you. Yeah, thank you. All right, here we have something. This is from Sasri. What I value most about cultural diversity in business is the human element. So people feel heard and respected and motivated, just like you've been talking about,
mm,
Lungile. That sense
mhm.
of belonging drives performance. Ooh,
Um,
that sense of belonging
yes.
drives performance. That's a
Mm-hmm.
motivator. Is
Yes.
I belong. I have the ability to
Mm-hmm.
contribute.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
So it says my contribution, sorry, Susan, my contribution is valued, is seen, you know, and also my learnings. I'm not afraid to fail, or I'm not afraid to try because I'm seen, you know, I'm valued in that sense. Yeah.
Often we get the question, I have got a stakeholder and they're very hard to work with. What are the
Mm-hmm.
tips? My personal opinion is you can spend time getting to know that person. Very often, folks
Yes.
that are hard to work with are feeling that
Mm-hmm.
way because they don't feel heard or seen. And spending some time with
Yes.
them can sometimes overcome that.
Yeah, yeah. No, 100%. And also, you know, with stakeholder engagement, because we don't manage stakeholders, we engage with stakeholders.
That's
So
right.
with stakeholder engagement, you invest time in understanding your different stakeholders, you know, and there are stakeholders who've got a certain preference when it comes to communication, right? Someone
Yes.
who does not prefer long emails, you know, they don't want your 13-page PowerPoint, you know, they are open to you sending a quick WhatsApp summary of where we at, what's happening, and so forth. So it's very important. It also comes with a certain level of IQ and emotional intelligence to understand that this particular stakeholder has this preferred method of engagement. And some stakeholders, maybe they just don't do well with messages in the morning. Find them after midday, they've had a coffee or two, you know, and then they are now more, you know, free and more, you know, friendly to engage with. So it's very important to, when you do your stakeholder matrix, understand your key stakeholders. And if you need to zoom in to those difficult stakeholders, what makes them difficult, and what's the method of engagement, or what is the preferred, timing of engagement? I've seen that practically in my space, where you have to give feedback and update to an executive who is forever traveling, they're out of office, they would like to see more visuals. So a one pager, right? My one pager with different colors, like my blanket today, that says, what, red, we are, what, we're stepping out of the deadline, or, green, we're good. So just understanding your stakeholder, how to communicate with them, when to communicate with them, it really does help and assist business analysts not to be seen as those people who are nagging, but people who actually are very much structured and very strategic in their way of how we engage our stakeholders.
Yeah, spending time to know how the people that you're working with want to be communicated with, it will pay it back. It will pay itself back if you
Brilliant.
make the investment. So, hey, a couple more people that are joining us. So we've got Rafael in Portugal who's joining us today, and then I don't see a name, but we have somebody from Ukraine who's joining us. So, all right. Let's take a look at, okay, we've got another question. Baba Jide. I've worked with a cross-cultural team on a project, and I can tell you it's always fun during the sprint planning. We tend to share unique cultural mores and values. Yeah, those opportunities, especially if you're working with a team that is very diverse, spending a little bit of time to learn about, well, it's tell us about Heritage Day today and what does that mean? So that's a good way to build teams. Let's see, we've got a note here from Beverly. I love connecting with people to learn their names. I agree. It tells a lot about the language, but also the culture, and it brings about a feeling of respect. Yeah. Thanks, Beverly. All right.
True.
We've got another one here. Yana Lisa, I'm enjoying the discussion. As someone who is in process of transitioning careers, this is the field that she wants to get into. Well, Yana Lisa, hopefully you are getting first some good tips on just
Mhm.
business analysis professionals, but also what we're talking about are a lot of transferable skills. So, Lungile, you said you didn't always have this title and you probably held other jobs, but the core of what you're talking
Mhm.
about today, that openness, that curiosity,
Mhm.
that's very much transferable.
Yes, 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 and 100%. Most of these business analysis skills and practices, they can be developed over time, right?
That's
Allowing
right.
yourself to learn, and I've also seen in the community, people are willing and people are open to actually mentoring. You will be amazed at how many people will drop you a message on LinkedIn and ask a question, and someone is like, yeah, maybe let's get on a call, let's just unpack exactly what is it that you are struggling with, or what is it that you're wanting to share. And you find that most of these skills, they are really transferable, and they can also be developed over time. You just open yourself up to, it's like just volunteering, giving up your time and say, what, you'll be amazed how much more you learn. You are giving your time and skills, but then also what you will learn as a volunteer, and the connections and the networks that you'll make within the community will really actually set you up for greater learning and skills, and also networks.
You mentioned volunteering. I sometimes say when you open your hands to give, you open your hands to receive. And so, for the effort that you put into volunteering, you can build skills that you might not have an opportunity to use in other places. But the network that you can create also can be something that you might not have a chance to build at work. So, volunteering, I think, is such a great way to get involved in the business analysis community and to learn from other professionals.
100%. I tell you, sometimes you go in, you volunteering, and I also just want to share this. When most BAs who want, or maybe who are not yet BAs, they want to transition. and they're not given
Mhm.
that opportunity in a formal organizational structure. When you volunteer in the community and you express your interest of wanting to transit as a BA, and then you are absorbed and you are starting to gain a practical skill as a volunteer, which you can already start seeing as to maybe you might even find out that, you know what, this is what I want to add to the community, or you can challenge a thing or two. So volunteering does not only then open up opportunities to actually volunteer, but you can also use that as your way to transition and get practical experience.
Absolutely. Those achievements for that you've achieved during volunteering is something that can go on a resume. If you are
100%.
looking for ways to talk about the work that you've done, I feel like this is a good segue into the next question. I feel like we've almost been kind of teeing this up. So, my question is it important and why for BAs to join or become members of groups like IIBA? And so the question here is, for instance, like workers that join unions. Okay, so the International Institute of Business Analysis, we are a professional association, not so
Yeah.
much of a union. Um, but I think, Lungile, what you've just talked about is
Mhm.
because there are chapters, there's a very active chapter in South Africa, in
Yeah.
fact. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
volunteering for a chapter like that or some of the other groups that you've mentioned today that you're part of can be a
Yeah.
great way to build skills. I think that's
Yeah.
why it's important.
100%. 100%. And I mean, so I could add a long list, right? I started off
Yeah,
as a volunteer. I mean, and I always say that personal professional development is it's a personal responsibility, right? And when you belong in these groups, right, you are saying, I actually take my career serious. I actually want to learn, but maybe I also want to contribute to the community, and therefore I can have people who can hold me accountable. I can have people who can celebrate my small wins. I can also have people who can say, look, don't go that route. I've been down that route. Maybe try this and so forth. So there are so many reasons why you would actually want to belong in a community of like-minded people who have similar goals, similar career. And one of the things that I think the SA chapter is doing so well, we've got this bi-weekly lean coffee session. It's an agendaless session, and you find that most people who join in there, they are BAs, they are project managers, they are process analysts and so forth. The learnings there, then you start seeing the importance of belonging in a community. And most importantly, one of the things that I can vouch for, you do it right, you are guaranteed growth in the space of business analysis.
that's right. You will get
Yeah.
out of it what you put into it. And I think there's also that idea that you are not alone. Um, very often, we might be the only business analysis professional in our organization, and we can sometimes
Mhm.
feel like there is nobody else that does the work that we do
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
understands the kinds of problems that we see. But when you are
Yeah.
part of a professional association or a chapter of like-minded people, you realize you're not
Mhm.
alone. There are people that
You're
are
not
doing
alone.
that work.
Yeah, you're not alone. And also, because now we're talking professional development, you can actually now start looking at where am I in terms of my knowledge and skills? What do I need? What certifications are out there? What other qualifications that are out there? What's some of these that I can obtain online? What's some of these that the community does provide? So I think for me, really, all other professionals or professions have got the communities, and we are also just as privileged as business analysts to have our community as well, where I can bring in issues and say that in my organization, this is how things are done. Can someone really make me understand what are the actual standards? What are the ways of practices that I can actually take back to my organization and so forth? So, really, it's a sense of belonging, and you get an opportunity not only to contribute but to also grow.
Yes, so that is a perfect way to wrap up that thought. Although I've got one last item here from Shayla. How do we join that lean coffee session? Do they put that on? Does the South Africa chapter put that on their website?
Yes,
So
yes,
I think
definitely. It is there. Yeah,
is it southafrica.iiba.org? Is that how they could find the website?
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes, and you can
So
also follow
South
the page on LinkedIn.
or go to LinkedIn and look for the chapter. There you go. So thanks, Shayla.
Yeah,
All right. Well, thank you, Lungile. I am glad that when we talked about this in May, we were like, whew, September, that's a long time away. And here we are. So,
100%. Time is
oh
really
boy,
flew, hey?
this year is just flying by. I want to thank you for sharing all of your perspectives today and also your beautiful
Yeah,
holiday, telling us a little bit about that. That has
yes.
certainly been such a nice way to talk about cultural diversity in business analysis.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much, Sue. And I mean, it's a very big subject, I must say. And
It-
last year, I attended a conference I attended a conference in London. I'm not going to let out the cat out of the bag for now, but there was a project that was born from that conference, and it really came out of the topic because I was talking about the cultural diversity in business analysis and looking at the global village. So it's really a big thing because we are becoming more and more remote and digital and all of that. And it's very important to bring this human element to it where we say, you know what, we see you, we see each other, we value each other. But how do we do that, to enhance and to better our profession as business analysts? And it's so amazing the things that we are finding out as to how this cannot be done via AI. So we need to do it.
yes. Oh gosh, you're right. That could take us into a completely different topic. Thank you again, Lungile. We have certainly loved hearing from you today. Take care.
Thank you.
And that wraps up our session today. I hope we've got you thinking about the importance of cultural diversity in business analysis. When I see you again in 2 weeks, we're going to talk a little bit more about emotional intelligence and empathy. We're going to be talking with someone about practicing empathy in the age of burnout. So you will not want to miss that. We're going to be back in 2 weeks from today. We'll see you then. Bye bye.